Tonight on Somerville Neighborhood News, liquor licenses are in short supply as demand rises. We'll look at the city's efforts to increase the numbers. Somerville by Design unveils its latest look at the transformation of Union Square as negotiations begin on a public benefits agreement. Winners and losers in the municipal elections. All that and more on this edition of Somerville Neighborhood News.
Hello everyone, welcome to Somerville Neighborhood News. Today is November 17th, 2015, and I'm Melanie Morris. Somerville is becoming a dining and entertainment destination. Ethnic, upscale, chain, and locally sourced restaurants are all looking to set the table for patrons in and around the city. According to Bloomberg Businessweek, restaurants count on alcohol sales for almost 30% of their revenue. As the restaurant and bar scene grows in the city, liquor licenses are actually in short supply. Our Brendan Donahue reports on the city's efforts to change that.
Somerville's supply of liquor licenses is running low. From Prospect Hill to Davis Square, the city has only 6 remaining licenses. In Massachusetts, liquor licenses are granted by the state legislature through a home rule petition. Representative Denise Provost sponsored a bill at the State House to increase the number of licenses available in Somerville.
This was a home rule petition that came from the Board of Aldermen and was signed by the mayor that wants to increase the number of liquor licenses available in the city of Somerville by the number of 65 more. This bill will probably not be enacted in the form it was submitted. I think there is a feeling that 65 liquor licenses at one time is perhaps excessive. It's an additional.
Ms. Provost says there are frequently requests for additional licenses on the agenda, but towns are usually looking for 1 or 2 at a time. The state uses a population formula to determine the number of licenses for each municipality. According to the city of Somerville, the large request fits in with SummerVision's growth plan.
I think in general it would have a positive effect on businesses, especially a restaurant that wants to serve alcohol responsibly to responsible drinkers. I do think we have to be careful about who we issue liquor licenses to and how many we issue them to. There's a reason that we have rules set up to limit liquor licenses, so we don't want to go overboard, but I definitely do. I know there's a demand for it in Somerville.
The Assembly Row development currently has 8 restaurants and bars with liquor licenses. With more development going on, the current request sets aside 15 licenses just for Assembly Square. Alderman McLaughlin wants to make sure local businesses aren't left out.
I requested that local businesses, local-owned businesses, small businesses get priority over big businesses. The concern I would have is, who gets priority? Is it going to be the big business interest? Is it going to be small business? And I could see a situation where something like Assembly Square or something like a new business in Union Square gets a priority over a small store that could serve beer or wine with a dinner.
Charles Abel and Dan Millen are small business owners who recently went through the process of obtaining a liquor license for their new Union Square music club and restaurant, Thunder Road.
And the process itself was, it was a little nerve-wracking because it was sent to the state, and they investigate you. Both Dan and my partner, Dan Millen, and myself have been in this business before. Our credibility is untarnished, and so we knew that nothing was going to become of it. But it's still a little nerve-wracking waiting for some skeleton that I don't know of coming out of a closet, which there wasn't any skeletons. The city mandates that you have a community meeting as part of the process so that the neighbors have a chance to come and ask you questions. And we did that, and there were several neighbors there, some of which were excited for us, and some of which had some legitimate questions regarding of how we're going to present our product and how we were going to manage the property and how it would affect them. So we tried to answer any questions that they had, and I think we did a good job.
The Union United Coalition has asked for more community meetings and an impact study on how increased liquor licenses will affect local residents and neighborhoods. That kind of local scrutiny is an argument for transferring license control from the state to the municipalities. Ms. Provost is one of 22 legislators signed on a petition to do just that.
Many communities and local community leaders feel that it makes sense to have the communities themselves decide how many liquor licenses are appropriate. And in any case, they're directly accountable to the voters.
Both the request for increased liquor licenses and the return to local control bills are currently before the House. Neither bill is yet scheduled for a vote. For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Brendan Donahue.
Somerville currently has 122 liquor licenses for the entire city. If the current request is granted, that total will increase by 50%. Low voter turnout was a story of the November 3rd municipal elections here in Somerville. Only 14% of the registered voters went to the polls. Many incumbents actually ran unopposed, bringing down overall interest. In contested races, Alderman-at-Large incumbents John Connolly, Mary Jo Rossetti, Dennis Sullivan, and William White were all reelected. Challenger Sean Fitzgerald was defeated. Lance Davis won the highly contested alderman's race in Ward 6, taking 60% of the vote to Elizabeth Weinblum's 30. 2 school committee seats were open this election. In Ward 3, Lee Erica Palmer won overwhelmingly, and in Ward 4, Andre Green will take the school committee seat left open by Christine Raphael. The latest vision for the redevelopment of Union Square was unveiled to the community recently when the Somerville by Design team presented its neighborhood plan draft. Principal Group Design Director Russell Preston presented highlights of the 164-page report to over 100 residents and city officials.
So this is very much a draft. This is a living document right now. We want your input. As part of the Somerville by Design process, this is a key step to put the plan out there before it's completely cooked and let everyone sort of make sure we're heading in the right direction and filling in some missing pieces. So that's important. We need your feedback. We wanted to just walk you all through the document, and I'll kind of hit the highlights, kind of orient you, explain some things, and then we could do some Q&A. So the plan highlights, what's really important here is not just the physical realm, what is the future of Union Square and the neighborhood, but also what are the numbers associated with that? How many jobs are we creating? And there's a very important balance between commercial growth and residential growth that we have tried to aim for that comes out of SummerVision. And that's really a 60-40 split between commercial growth and residential growth. This is sort of the bow tie, street network. And you can see here sort of the square, sort of really thinking about how to enhance Sanborn Court. This main intersection at Webster, Washington, Bow, and Somerville, how do we make that really work well for everyone in the neighborhood? Now, D1 is an important transition parcel. It has to kind of slope down to meet the neighborhood, sort of hold that street frontage on Washington Street as well as on the main square. But it's also a great parcel for larger format office and commercial development, in addition to a centralized sort of parking facility. Looking at a redevelopment of the site with a number of phases, a number of buildings, a smaller sort of 5-story structure here, a mid-block lane, and then this is a really key opportunity for a library and a community innovation center. This might be a great place to put civic uses and keep them in Union Square. And then moving forward, sort of looking back, this is Prospect Street. There's the post office. And there's D1 there, kind of meeting the plaza space.
My question is about the plan holistically. How would this be implemented? What is the accountability on parts of the city, on developers who work in the neighborhood, and on residents? What does the enforcement of the plan look like? Is this a requirement or a suggestion? And how will this plan play out in our neighborhood?
The easy question is we don't know. Part of it is this neighborhood plan is an aspirational document. This is supposed to establish a vision, establish a set of aspirational goals and objectives. What in our experience we find is that if it's a strong vision and the community is continuing to have dialogue around it, implementation opportunities bubble up that might not have been conceived of when a plan might have been written?
Well, I think the plans we saw tonight reflect that they've been listening to the feedback and they've incorporated a lot of very good points that were suggested.
While this is not really the beginning, it's the beginning of another phase, and that we're at the beginning of 20 or 30 year process, and we're watching history being made. We're watching the transformation of a large part of Somerville.
If we can have a model where we're transit oriented, we're walking, thanks Joe, we're walking bike oriented, and we're median income, and we're trying to balance jobs and housing. Median income housing doesn't come close to paying for itself. And the more you build, the deeper a fiscal hole you have. So if we can have those jobs catch up and balance the housing, we take away 1/4 of the difference between us and Cambridge and Boston, which could be significant in the services we could deliver.
The full report is available at somervillebydesign.com. Public comment on the draft is being accepted through November 30th. The first of 2 working sessions on a public benefits agreement for Union Square takes place at City Hall tomorrow. The public benefits agreement is a binding contract between the city and the developer US2 that sets out guidelines for affordable housing, local hiring and job development, local business support, and other neighborhood protections. The city has engaged the urban advocacy and research group, Locus, to facilitate the negotiations. Locus President Chris Lineberger met with residents at the July 28th Union Square Civic Advisory Committee meeting to explain the process.
One is to recognize how great places evolve. There's a very important role for the public sector. Public sector sets the table. Zoning, infrastructure provision, all sorts of stuff that the public sector has to do before anybody shows up. Another important role is the private sector. Private sector builds 80% of the built environment. Private sector doesn't show up, things don't get built. Look what's happened for the last 50 years. In Somerville, it's kind of been bumping along. But now it's your time. And it starts with making sure that we all understand the various issues that you've been talking about working on for the last number of years, really. I mean, the CAC's been around for a couple of years, but before that, Summer Vision and you've done some remarkable work. You've done a lot of the heavy lifting. What I'm hoping this process will do is bring it to closure. But taking all that information about the vision, about the infrastructure, about programs that are needed, that needs to make sure that everybody on the CAC and anybody else involved with this process will be up to speed. Works under the assumption that you bring people together, people of goodwill come together, you educate everybody about the same stuff, they all know the same thing, and then you give them what I refer to as the universe of options. That's going to be on day 2, of what the skeleton is of a strategy. So we want decision makers in the room that are able to make decisions about, to make commitments about what they're going to do, and they can credibly volunteer to do things to help make it happen. If you have a lot of people that are just bitching and moaning, it's important to listen, important to hear people's concerns. What we need in the room are people that are going to make things happen.
A 30-member strategic planning task force has been created to negotiate the agreement. The decision-making group includes members of the Civic Advisory Committee, city staff, and community representatives. The meetings are all open to the public. While long-term plans are evolving, development in Union Square is already underway. 2 Washington Street projects are bringing a blend of market rate and affordable housing to the city. Our reporter Ellie Romano checks in on the progress.
The construction of 30 new condominiums at 197 Washington Street is making strides. A topping off ceremony was held to commemorate the progress of the project. In addition to living space, the building will also house a state-of-the-art fitness center and a rooftop solar lounge with incredible skyline views. These amenities come at a price. The 1 to 2 bedroom condos are selling between $449,000 and $660,000. For Director of the Office of Strategic Planning and Community Development, Michael Glavin, the 197 project is one piece of the Union Square development puzzle.
We have a combination of things happening here. We have Cathartis building this privately funded private development and welcoming new neighbors, new people who will be coming to Somerville and Union Square maybe for the first time.
While the topping off was the focal point of the day, the construction of the affordable housing taking place next door was also in the spotlight.
And we have next door the Somerville Community Corporation building a project that's similar and was designed in a comprehensive way so that they'll be welcoming new tenants and local residents in affordable housing right next door. So this together really brings the best of both worlds.
Next door, we're doing great. We are a little behind them, which was somewhat by design. They've been fantastic partners. We got our zoning approvals together. We share a contractor in Delbrook, and they've been fantastic.
The Somerville Community Corporation is developing the site of the former Boys and Girls Club into 35 rental units of workforce and affordable housing.
Ours is actually going to be rental housing, so it'll be very affordable, geared to people in Somerville who earn up to about 60% of the area median income.
These projects working in tandem can serve as a model as Union Square redevelopment plans seek to create needed housing at both market and affordable rates. For Somerville Neighborhood News, I'm Ellie Romano.
The Somerville Community Corporation hopes to have the affordable housing project at 181 Washington Street complete and ready for occupancy by the spring of 2016. Now let's see what's in this week's Somerville Journal.
Hello, this week in the Somerville Journal we'll have the latest on a giant development in Boynton Yards. We'll profile a Somerville artist working in Brockton, and we'll have coverage of the new citywide plan to combat opioid addiction. You can always find us online at somerville.wickedlocal.com, follow us on Twitter at VilleJournal, and get in touch with me at 617-629-3385 or datkinson@wickedlocal.com.
Oh boy, we don't like this. The days are getting shorter and temperatures are dropping. During these dark New England winters, it can be a challenge to get out and work out. In tonight's Medical Minute, Dr. Ira Michelson reminds us of the benefits of sticking with even a modest exercise routine.
Hello, I'm Dr. Ira Michelson with the Health Minute. I wanted to talk to you today about a topic that's very important, namely exercise. There was a study that came out just recently looking at the relationship between health and exercise, and there have been a lot of studies on this, but what was very interesting was that this was a study of over 300,000 people, so a very large study done in Sweden, published in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. And what they found out was that exercise, even modest exercise, had an incredible positive effect on our health. What they found was that 20 minutes of walking per day resulted in anywhere between a 16 and 30% increase in longevity. Imagine that just a modest amount of exercise, something that most of us can do, results not only in feeling better and going about our business better, but also living longer. So I want to encourage everybody to try to get whatever exercise they can. It doesn't have to be fancy or Olympian, but just something as simple as walking 20 minutes a day will be a very big benefit to your health. This is Dr. Ira Michelson for the Health Minute.
And don't forget, you can watch Dr. Michelson on Taking Back Your Health, Thursdays at 7 p.m. on Channel 3, or of course, anytime on scattvsomerville.org. Tonight, we profiled two more nonprofits participating in Giving Tuesday Somerville. The project is a collaborative awareness and fundraising effort by 14 local community organizations.
The mission of Community Action Agency of Somerville is to reduce poverty where we work and live, and also to eliminate society's causes of that poverty.
CAS, Hetzel is definitely more than just a daycare for kids. They work with not just the child, it's more focused on family development. Because if you help the family, eventually it trickles down and you are helping the child as well.
And it reached a point where I couldn't work anymore, and I couldn't pay my rent, and it was very scary. When I first started not being able to pay my rent, Cass started looking for rent money for me and talked to my landlady several times, reassuring her that they were trying to find the money. Cass was so helpful to me because this experience was completely new to me. Cass was a lifesaver for me.
Giving Tuesday wraps up on December 1st with a celebration at Arts at the Armory. For more information on the event, visit bit.ly.com/GivingTuesdaySomerville. Admission is free with a donation. There's still plenty of time to donate. Online at givingcommon.org/GivingTuesdaySomerville, or by sending a check to Groundwork Somerville at 24 Park Street, number 7, Somerville, Mass. 02143. Please put Giving Tuesday Somerville in the memo line. That's our newscast for tonight, folks. We'll be back on December 1st at 7 p.m. on Channel 3. Check out all of our news stories at somervilleneighborhoodnews.org. Somerville Neighborhood News is a community service production of SCAT TV. We invite you to get involved. Visit our Facebook page, SCAT TV SNN, to comment. Tweet us at SCAT TV SNN, or call us at 617-628-8826, or of course you can email us at news@scatvsomerville.org. I'm Melanie Morris. Thanks for joining us. You can join me on Bay State Biking News Wednesdays at 9 p.m. right here on SCAT TV. We'll see you around the neighborhood.